Hey guys, this is Post-Production Pi, and this recording is coming at you from the great land of Chickadee, China. I'm actually out here doing 2 weeks of work and shooting, and then it's going to be 2 weeks of play. I'm actually spending Christmas out here. So I thought, well, I need to bring out my little microphone and start recording. I couldn't bring out the studio mic because it's too big and everything to get out here. So I have my little craptastic Logitech. But that's alright, hopefully it's still recording my sexy voice in an adequate manner for you all. But anyway, I wanted to kind of bring in a new section to SLR Lounge, which is kind of like a weekly thought. Now hopefully these weekly thoughts can actually be weekly. I don't have that many thoughts to share, so if I run out of thoughts then it may not be a weekly thought. But we'll call it the weekly thoughts until it no longer is. So this week I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I've been noticing, and I don't know if this is a new thing, but it seems to be new to me because just I've been noticing it a lot recently. But it's what I call the pitfalls of absolutes and also the photographic vision. They kind of tie hand in hand, and we'll talk about both. Now, let's talk about first what I call the pitfall of absolutes. What this is basically photographers, and typically this happens amongst amateur through advanced hobbyists and even some kind of professional photographers. But most professional photographers don't adopt this mentality. What it is basically that there's only one right way to do things. If you're not using an 8-foot octobox, you're not shooting correctly. I heard once in a speech that a guy said, if you're not using a light meter, you're not a professional photographer. These kind of statements are ridiculous because a light meter is of great use, but how often are we out and we don't have the opportunity to use a light meter? And just because of that, how many professional photographers are out there shooting without light meters? Photojournalists, for example. And so they're very incorrect statements. And what happens is you fall into these kind of pitfalls of everything has to be done a certain way. If it's not shot correctly out of the camera, then it's not done right, and you're not a professional. These things are kind of thoughts and hindrances to your whole photographic development. If you only believe in one way of doing things, whether it be that only natural light looks good, or only flash photography looks good, or only straight out of camera is correct, then you're really hindering the quality of your photographic work. Most photographers, most professional photographers, will use everything possible at their discretion to come up with the greatest possible image. They'll shoot it as best as possible out of camera. They'll leave themselves as much room by shooting it raw for additional processing, and then they'll go to town on it. In fact, what you see in magazines, whether it be National Geographic or whether it be a fashion magazine, I'll guarantee you that 99.9% of those images have been retouched. To what degree, we don't know. I mean, for fashion magazines, they're all retouched to a ridiculous degree. But for National Geographic and those kind of magazines, you can pretty much guarantee that at least basic adjustments like contrast boosting, brightness, those kind of adjustments, sharpening, is being done on those images, white balance, etc. Now, this brings me to my next point, which is photographic vision. And basically what I mean by having a photographic vision is that you shoot your shot where possible out of camera to look as close as possible as to what you envision it being in its final product. And I'm going to show you guys an example of this. I'm in Lightroom right now, and I'm going to hit L twice to bring back my lights. And here's what we have. This shot was taken yesterday, actually, in China. This is just out at the wharf, basically shooting a fisherman's boat. And I shot this at sunset, and I kept the white balance warm because I kind of envisioned this to be just a nice punchy shot, nice yellows, a very nice mood shot. And so this was my final vision for it. And so you can see that the final vision is very, very similar to this original. We're just essentially taking it to saturation, pumping it up, contrast, boost, and everything like that. But so much more can be done to this image, and none of these things you could say are incorrect. These are all correct ways of processing if this was your final vision for it. So I'm going to show you guys some examples. So here we have the basic original shot, and now I did a color corrected version of it. Okay, here is a dramatic black and white version of this shot. Here is a high detail black and white version, slightly brighter. Here is a black and white duotone version of the shot where we have colors actually mixed into the highlights and the shadows. I think I said mixed, like Sean Connery. That's pretty awesome. Now we have 6, a vintage version of this shot where it just kind of has that nice brown, almost kind of sepia toning. Now we have a vintage cross-process version of the shot, kind of bringing in the blues and the shadows, yellows into the highlights. And then finally, I did a vintage toy camera look for the shot. Kind of lo-fi, lots of grain, adds, cross-processing to it. These are all different versions of shots, and none of them are incorrect. If this was your vision for it, that's great. Now, what I would say is that if your final vision for the shot was a color corrected version of the shot, then try and color correct it in camera. But this is again talking about where it's possible. Obviously, this boat isn't moving, and there's not really much going on here. I have plenty of time to get my camera settings right. But if I'm shooting journalistically and I'm shooting people zooming by on motorcycles, or if they're in the action of doing something, all I'm worried about is getting my exposure as close as possible. And that's why we rely on tools like shooting raw so that we can get the rest right in post. Because these moments are finite and we can't recreate them. We want to do as good of a possible job shooting and getting what we need out of them, and then doing what we can in post to kind of enhance that. So, what's the whole point of this slew of garbage that just came from my mouth? Well, it's this. I would encourage you guys to stay away from absolutes. We have so many tools at our discretion. Use them all. From having different camera bodies and lenses, to using the different metering modes, camera modes, RAW versus JPEG. Every one of those has a different use in each different situation. Find that use, learn it, understand it, and use them all. When it comes to post-production, get it right in camera, then use, or get it as close as possible in camera, then use your post-production. Perfect that image. Turn it into that vision that you want. Because guess what? Every one of us professionals, every single thing that you are seeing in these magazines, we're not using absolutes. We're not saying it has to be this way. We're doing whatever we possibly can to make those images look amazing. So if you're not, then we kind of have a little one-up on you there. So anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this thought. Hopefully it's been useful to you guys. As always, we'll leave it open to your comments and discussion below. And have a great one, guys. See ya.